Good afternoon, Word of Grace family. Today is Wednesday, May the 27th, 2020. Welcome to today's edition of 5 Minutes of Encouragement. Now, as usual, the scriptures that I referenced during this talk will be in the description box of this video. I ask that you both like and share this hashtag 5 Minutes of Encouragement. Today's talk, family, comes from a concept that appears in the Bible 4 separate times. Once in the Old Testament, 3 times in the New Testament. I believe Paul is the author of the 3 in the New Testament. They are listed in Romans, Galatians, and Hebrews. I believe Paul is the author of Hebrews. Can't prove it, but I believe it. And the concept is this, that the just shall live by faith. So in Romans 1:17, we see this. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith. As it is written, the just shall live by faith. Now, what the author wants us to know there is that it is actually God's righteousness that is revealed when those who are justified live by faith. Get that? God's righteousness is not dependent on you or I, but it is revealed when the just live by faith. That is what Paul is trying to communicate to the Romans. Again, in the book of Galatians, we hear this. But that no one is justified by the law in the sight of God is evident. For the just shall live by faith. So it is by faith that he writes, the just shall live. One more place in the book of Hebrews. Now the just shall live by faith. But if anyone draws back, my soul has no pleasure in him. So what the apostle is trying to get us to understand here is the importance of faith. Now we know that Paul was probably, I'm going to make an opinion here, probably the biggest biblical scholar of the New Testament. He was well trained as a Pharisee. He was very well educated in the things of the Bible. And of course, the Lord used that knowledge to write the New Testament. But where was Paul drawing this from? So glad you asked. In the Old Testament, the book of Habakkuk. Behold the proud, his soul is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. That is a very important concept. So why is that so important? Why is it so important that the just live by faith? Well, first and foremost, you can't be justified without faith. How are you justified? You're justified by believing that Christ redeemed you from your sin. You can't believe that Christ redeemed you from your sin without faith. It's funny, right? It's a thing that feeds on itself. Now, the just shall live by faith. 3 times that appears in the New Testament. Why? I think it's important that we look at the word live by or live. It is a derivative of the word Zoe. Now we know that Zoe is the God kind of life. It is the life that Jesus died to bring for us. When Jesus says, unless you eat of my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. That life that he's talking about is that Zoe life. And so family, when the Lord tells us that the just shall live by faith, everything that you do in this life, every trial you overcome, every tribulation you endure, every victory you experience is by faith. The importance of that point cannot be overstated. You and I live by faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. It is by faith we receive the gift of salvation. By faith, all the promises are sure to us. One more reason that we're going to look at why faith is so important. In 2 Corinthians 5:21, we learn that God made Jesus, who knew no sin, to be sin on our behalf. Why? So that we would be the righteousness of God in him. Okay. Jesus knew no sin, but God made him to be sin on the cross. How did he do that? Jesus had to receive it. How? By faith. Jesus used his faith to absorb all of our sins. The same way that we use our faith to absorb all of his righteousness. And when we absorb that righteousness, all the promises of God then become yes and amen in him to us. Oh, wow, family. That should be an encouragement to you to exercise your faith. How do we exercise our faith? Well, faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. And that hearing is not a verb. If you look it up, the hearing is a noun. It is by being in a state of listening to the voice of God. Family, let's exercise our faith. Let's reach out in faith today so that we can display what Jesus Christ died to give us. And we're not displaying it simply for our own benefit. We're displaying it as a proof to the world. That's why we've been left here. That's why the church is here in this time. That's why you are in particular where you are today. It is so that the faith that the Lord birthed on the inside of you, that the Lord gave you, could reach out and grab everything that Jesus did for mankind. Family, this has been today's edition of 5 Minutes of Encouragement. As usual, I absolutely love and adore each and every one of you. But more importantly, Jesus loves you. Grab that by faith. Go make it a great day, family. We'll see you back here tomorrow.